Hello and welcome to Across the Pond WNBA special finals edition. Finals are over, Michelle. They're done. The season is done. First of all, before I unleash you, like how quick has this season been? Like the season feels like it's gone in a flash, and like we're at the end already.
It is. It is in a flash. I hate to say it like it's a shortened season just because it runs through the summer months, which is good and bad. I mean, you get different viewerships. You're not competing with other pro sports. Um, so we'll take it, but they could have extended this season. This has got to be one of the
Well,
best.
they
This is
did.
history books.
They extended it
I
by
need
two
more.
games,
I
but we
need
need
more.
more. We do need more. Okay, right. Let's get into it then. So the Las Vegas Aces win in New York on their floor. Absolute depletion of resources. I mean, you're down to the toothpick sitting at the end of the bench. Really, this was insane. Before we get into it though, one thing that happened in the game before, in game three,
Yeah,
Sabrina hit a three, and she did this.
she did.
That was fuel. Was that not fuel to the fire for game four?
Oh, come on. This is one of the reasons Pat Summitt would always tell us, do not start things or instigate them. But if other people start them, you darn sure better finish it. She started it. And they sure finished it on her.
They really, really did. So the Aces win by a single point, and we'll get into the final shot a little bit later. But New York went out and took out a big lead. Like they were up by 10 in the first
Mhm,
quarter. As far as quarters go, I call that
mhm,
a blowout in the first quarter. If you're getting beaten by double digits, that's a blowout in the first quarter. But it was almost as if in the second quarter we steadied the ship
mhm,
and we took that quarter by a point.
mhm,
But the third quarter, and I have to say, like this season, if you look at our season, third quarter is probably not our best.
mhm.
But this was
True.
a complete turnaround. And what I love about this is, and I have to eat humble pie, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, but when we've seen the injuries to Chelsea Gray and then Kia Stokes, both walking around on moon boots, and in fact, Chelsea isn't walking about, she had, like, this little trolley thing that
And
she
she
was
was
on.
rolling.
Like, when you see that, you're like, "Wow, we're going to game 5, like, we're going
Yep.
back to Vegas."
Mhm,
But Becky had other ideas.
mhm. I mean, I'll be honest. I thought it was going to game 5 at that point. I really did. And I was like, it's anyone's game because one of the preferences I said to the Aces not winning was injuries. And I go, I hope I didn't jinx my girls because not only we got two, not one, but two starters at that. I think everyone knew it could go either way at this point. And New York had, like, they finished that game pretty strong. It was just that last play. Courtney, that last series by Vandersloot, like, if she heard everyone saying, shoot, see the basket, got the steal on Plum, hit the three. And unfortunately, the last one didn't go down, and she's a former teammate. I felt really bad because I know how that's going to eat at her for a while, a long time. And it's like she did everything right, and it all boiled down to that one play and how a few seconds can determine your season. I think it's something kids need to think about and know. And then how injuries can affect things. You can do everything right, and it could have not went the Aces way. It could have been New York. I agree with you on the start of the game. I felt like New York has been doing that really well from the jump in this championship series. They've been jumping out of the gate. I do not think it's a blowout to be up by 10 points. 1 point is 8, 2 baskets, 6. It's so quick to swing it. I think if it's 20, your coach should probably do more than call a timeout, maybe a chair. But I get what you're saying because one of the things you don't wanna do with a team that is as great as New York at shooting threes is to give them any type of an advantage. I remember in game 2 and 3 where threes got them back like that, and it like, for them being down 10, it is nothing for them. They could come back in less than a minute and a half. So I think you have to be careful with that. So coming into game 4, I thought it was imperative for New York to get a lead and to get out ahead and to maximize that lead. as much as possible. The resilience and the things that we saw the aces, they were pulling stuff out of thin air. Out of thin air. I'm sorry. I knew this team was good, but I don't think anyone knew this team had this kind of, they reached deep and they found a way to win. And I think that's what made it so special. Even if you were a New York fan, you had to look at this and be like, at this point, the underdog did win.
So before we get on to New York and the reaction to the loss,
Mhm,
um, one thing I do have to kind of promote is
mhm,
that the NWSL playoffs are starting this weekend, and today we launched Across the Pond NWSL. So
mhm.
people go check that out. The first episode is out now. It's a
Yes,
blinder of an episode. It's really, really good. Danny, Ali, and Em have done a magnificent job with that first episode. So please do go and check that out and enjoy the NWSL playoffs now that the
yes.
WNBA is finished. To New York. One thing that I hate, I am not a fan of social media. One, because like I have to do all the social media for Across the Pond for a start, but also it can be quite toxic. And a
Mhm,
lot of what I've seen, and not from Aces fans,
mhm,
but what I have seen from New York fans is what you if you go to the Garden, you will hear this in the stands. But what I've seen on social media from New York fans is it's
mhm,
just bitterness and just
mhm.
Sandy Brunella needs to go. Courtney Vandersloot, why did we sign her? Like she needs to, why is she even here?
But you
Brianna,
loved her up until, but you loved her.
exactly. Everyone's like singing her praises
Mhm.
until she misses that shot. Sabrina was taking some heat, and obviously, like that kind of thing is part and parcel, but some of it is quite venomous and
Exactly.
like uncalled for. Like, fair enough. If you want to dish your team, if you want to take a couple of shots at them, fair enough. Like, go for it. But some of it is just so unnecessary. It's unbelievable.
100, and I'm one of those people that I would love. I wish I had the job of trolling trolls, cause baby, I will smoke them all. I promise. Let me come to your job and pressure you the way you pressure these athletes, spitting, cursing, yelling, underhanded stuff. Like some of it is, it's getting completely out of hand. And don't get me wrong, that is not the solution. I know that. That's escalating the problem. but
Sending you, yeah.
but how do we de-escalate it and help people to understand this is someone's daughter or someone's son? These are people who are sacrificing for you to be entertained. And I thought what made some of the New York fans, because I have to be honest, most of their fans are really good. They've
Yeah.
always been great fans. That's why we're happy to see them have a team that's in the championship. Like, guys, y'all went from non existent, no one cared about New York, to the front of the line, to now you're having these entitled comments of now you're picking who's on the team. And I think sometimes we need to look at how extreme our comments are and what makes you think you have the right to even make comments like that about someone else. That's a situation you can't control. Like having a sports team is an honor. And for most of the fans, that's exactly what they did. I saw some congratulating the other team. Like, you guys beat us with 2 people down. We can't be mad about that. And I think it's just the few bad apples that can make everyone look bad. And I know it's the big apple and everything, but but maybe y'all, throw them out or something. But I think it took away from the championship a bit because there were so many people, and social media has made it so common to say whatever you want to say to people. And that's a problem because then when someone commits suicide, we go, why'd they do that? Or where'd that come from? Like I said, Courtney Vandersloot, when you think about other WNBA players across the league, every one of us will stand up and support her. She is one hell of a point guard. And New York is lucky to have her. So for any fan to even open their mouth to say anything bad about her, she has the best character. She has brought that team together. She has even said, you know what? I don't even have to score. I want to make sure everyone else gets there. She put herself on the burner and she didn't have to do that. So to those fans, it's almost like every WNBA player would step up and support Courtney Vandersloot right now. Like I told you before you even brought this up, I felt for her. I know how bad she is beating. She's a competitor. She's an amazing person and player. And to have someone else beating you down on top of it, and now you escalate that with hundreds of people in their comments. People don't think before they speak, but they'll be the first to say, "Don't do that to my child," or participation trophies. Everyone should play. That same person. And I go, get over yourself and grow the hell up.
Keyboard warriors, I think is probably the right term. Like, if they were face to face to Courtney Vandersloot, they'd be
Wouldn't say
like,
a word.
wouldn't say a word until her back was turned. I mean,
They'd
and
ask for an
talk
autograph, you know that.
yeah, oh, yeah. "Can I get an autograph?" One thing, and this is slightly off topic, but it's still with social media. We've seen it in the UK, not with athletes, but with
Mhm.
reality TV stars, where we've had a couple of suicides, and
Oh,
it is
wow.
because of social media and, like, people getting on at them in social media. There's one soccer player, sorry, in the UK. She plays for Crystal Palace. She's Scottish. Her name's Lee, and basically, they put her routine, like, she's still alive, by the way.
Oh,
She's
oof.
good, but she was being interviewed by a newspaper or something, and she laid out her routine for the morning when she gets up. So she has
Mhm.
breakfast, she brushes her teeth, she gets dressed, blah 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 blah, and then she has a section in her day for social media. Now you would think that'd be like promoting something or something along those lines. No, she goes through her DMs and deletes them all. Like,
Mm.
she will pick out the ones that, aren't trolls, and she will make sure she responds to them. I think she's very big
Wow.
on her fans,
Good.
but she takes, like, an hour out of her day to delete all of the troll messages, and I think
Oh,
that's
wow.
horrendous that, like, someone has to go to that kinda length, that, they want to interact with their fans, but these trolls are stopping them from doing so, and I think for Courtney as well, like, she might not be wanting to kind of with any fans right now, with anybody, like, she might be
Yeah,
in her own head, like you say, but once she sorts that out, and then once she, like, gets back to, like, "Let's go and interact with the fans again," she's gonna open this up, and it's gonna be just full of hate, and it's gonna have the odd, "Oh, we love you, and we wish you the best," but it's just full of hate, and so I really do hope things change. I think social media needs regulation. I think it's been the Wild West for far too long. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musko, whatever his name is, I think, like, these people need tamed, and it's not about, like, they keep going on about it being, oh, against their terms and privacy and all this kind of crap. No, we
yeah.
live in a society now. You cannot just say whatever the hell you want if it is going to be to detriment of someone else. So there is a line, and I think people cross it
Absolutely.
far too often. But onto the game. The game was awesome, and you keep saying we were down two stars. We were really down three because Candice was gone,
Yeah,
and Candice has been gone for a while,
for a while.
but still there. And I kinda somebody put up a post early earlier today, and it was a picture of Chelsea and Candice holding the trophy. And obviously, because they did that back when they both played for the Sparks as well, which I thought was quite cool.
That was dope.
Um, Kelsey came out and said, and this was post game. This was hilarious. This was, you can't build a super team in a year. And I was like, oh, Kelsey, Kelsey, Kelsey. I absolutely love her. One thing that I will say, which was special for her, is that her husband was there.
I saw that. I love that.
And I thought that was so nice that because obviously they're both athletes, they both have their own schedules. Obviously, he plays in New York for some blue team, the Giants, something or other. I don't know, Cowboys. So, like, it was nice to see that interaction, and I think
Mhm.
that's what we
It
get
was.
with the WNBA every year, is we get to see these little interactions between family, between friends, fans,
Yeah.
that we don't get to see in other sports leagues, because I think these athletes make themselves so open, and
Yes.
we've seen that, and it was amazing to see. The New York Liberty, however, they've just got fined $25,000, as we talk about being open, uh, for not turning up and not meeting their obligations in terms of post-game media. I I'm gonna be honest, it's a really bad look, and
Mm,
it does kinda scream bad loser. I hate to say it, but, like, you kinda have to call it because, like, yes, it is the worst like, I don't know what it feels like, but I can imagine it is bone crunching to think that I've just lost a WNBA finals, and now I have to go and talk to the media about it. Like, it would be horrendous, and I don't necessarily blame them, but I
yeah.
think you still have an obligation to your fans to go out and explain to them what happened.
You brought up 2 great points. First, Imma tap on the WNBA kind of has more of an inside the locker room feel for fans, where you get to come behind the scenes. You saw Sia Colson on the airplane being the stewardess in
That's
full
hilarious.
uniform with personality. I loved it. You get to see that the baby Pearl who's traveling with the team and it's their little like she's like the mascot and the future player at the same time. Like all of those things give fans access and they're great. I will say as the game continues to grow and salaries continue to get higher and higher, I do see that being limited a little bit more. Maybe I don't think it will be as much. And I understand why other athletes don't do it. It can create stalkers and
Mhm.
issues you don't want to
Safety
deal with.
issues, yeah.
Exactly, but I think it also works for the WNBA in the beginning to where people can relate and align more, so I get it. I totally love it. So it'll be fun to see where that goes in the future, especially as more of these NBA teams start stepping up and saying, "I want a team." New York Liberty with the fine, and I really even hate addressing this because we just addressed the fans and the few bad apples, and now the players, some of them didn't show up and they didn't want to be there. It's 2 sides to it because 'cause I'll be honest, early in my career, I was that player. I was a sore loser.
Shock.
I was a sore loser, I don't like losing, don't talk to me. That the media wouldn't have come up to me anyway because I would not have been approachable. I get it, but at the same time, as I grew up, I'm thankful I have a family that got in my face and told me what a butthole I looked like and how I wasn't representing my family well, and how they didn't travel 8 hours to see me in Houston or somewhere else for me to have an attitude all night. And I took that to heart because I'm like, I want them to be a part of the experience. I have to learn to let go of losses quicker. And it's the championship is always the hardest to let go of. So I get it. And the way they lost, that was a dagger at the buzzer. So we totally understand. You might say we need another few minutes so we can, clear the
Yeah.
tears and put some Visine in the red eyes, wipe the snot up a little bit because like you're hurting. Like I know they were hurting, and I get it. But the fans also, that's part of us showing up and being who we are is even when it's ugly, even when it's hard, we still have to give the fans and our families access. And it also shows us how to grow as people because I had to grow in that area. Hopefully, the New York Liberty will pay that fine for their players. I think that's something they should do and just let the players go on because the players left everything they had on the floor. I don't think it should flow down to them. Organization, take care of it.
Yeah. No, I agree, and maybe they will because there was a couple of players that got individual fines on top of the
Take
$25,000
care of
as
all
well.
of it. Yes,
So, yeah.
you're building a super team.
Yeah, apparently building a super team.
Spend the money.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll take more than a year, but yeah. Now, what about Vegas? Like, what next? Is Mark Davis, and by the way, how great is it now? Tom Brady has 8 rings.
Wait, wait, but across genders. I'm
Exactly.
just saying.
That's hilarious. He becomes the owner, like, officially ratified
Mhm.
on, like, October 3rd or 5th or something,
Yes.
and then, like, October, what, 18th, he's now a WNBA champ
Has
as
to
an
be the
owner
quickest championship ever.
ever, and who there's only one person that could do that, and that is probably Tom Brady, and I think it's great that he showed up. I think it's great that he was there. Because he himself is probably looking at that, well, and the organization from the top will be looking at, like, the team that they had left after all the injuries and probably like, "Right, we're going back to Vegas," but they still showed up, and I think that's important for the team. Like, that's
Mhm,
important for the players to so, well, you know what? They're still here, they still showed up. Now, Mark Davis, is he, first time a team has went back to back in 21 years,
mhm.
is he building a dynasty? Will we see a three-peat?
Yes! We are going to see a three-peat. I think there are some holes that need to be filled. Like they got to do something with that Raquana situation. Either you're going to replace her, or you're going to bring her back. Figure it out. I think they're done with her though, just because they want to stand for something. But you never know. You never
She is
absolutely never know.
listed as suspended.
I know, because
Yeah,
they also got to go through the process and do it right,
yeah,
so that there's no lawsuits or anything that comes back on their end. Candace, does she play another year
yeah,
and
she does.
get healthy? I think that fills a huge hole there. You get deeper in your bench. You got those young players that stepped up and did great. So I think if they just plug a few holes, they could do what we expected them to do this year, which was to run through the season undefeated. I don't think they will be undefeated because
No,
I know that New York is going to get better as well. It's a great team. They're going to learn from it. And you have to remember they got a chip on their shoulder, and that is the hardest team to beat. And they beat Vegas by 20
yeah,
3 times during the regular season if you count the Commissioner's Cup. So I think they have an opportunity to repeat. It will be harder the third time around, just because people will now know they're going to learn how to play Jackie Young. They're going to learn how to play all the people who stepped up. The hardest part is someone always steps up every night on Vegas, so that will be interesting, and they got to fill up the defensive hole that they had. And I think bringing Candace back could do that for them. But I go New York too on the other side. They got depth. Now they have experience all the way to the championship game. I would expect them to be a terror next year. But I also look and go, Connecticut chomping at the bit to bite y'all off. And you have all like they have New York kind of has personal vendettas across the board.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And then you got Weatherspoon in Chicago. Do you think she's not finna cool her players back or do something? Yeah, Golden State coming. I think the league is going to continue to even out, and it's going to be harder for teams to maybe have these super teams.
Not
And even
looking
if you have them,
forward
you should be beat.
I'm not looking forward to an expansion draft. That could be what stops a dynasty because
Yeah.
an expansion draft means you lose players. One thing I will say about New York is pretty much nearly all of their players are free agents this year, which means they have a lot of work to do in the off season to bring those players back. I do want to give a shout out to a player that we probably don't talk about a whole bunch. And the reason for that is because she averages about 3 minutes a game this through the season. But Kayla George played
Oh yeah,
went from 3 minutes a season to 30 minutes
and did great. Yeah.
and did absolutely a phenomenal job, scored 11 points.
Yes.
One thing that we did expect to happen, or I certainly did, was that Kelsey Plum would be pretty much guarded out of the game because she'd
Mhm.
been so hot in the other games. She was held to 7 points, but she was the only player on the Aces side. She played every single second of that game.
Mm.
And at the end of the game, still had the energy, God knows where from, but still had the energy to go and run to her husband, Darren Waller, and you give him a hug and, have a chat and stuff, and then run back. And I was like, dude, I finished 12 minutes of a game and I'm done. Like, I am on the floor. Like, get me a physio. But I think it just speaks to this team
Mhm.
and how it is being constructed. You
Yeah.
know, you said right at the beginning of the show, in fact, we both said, by the way, I was listening to like the beginning of the season episodes that we did, and our big concern for both of us was a couple of injuries to this team and our season's over.
Mm, yes.
Now, yes, we lost Candace kind of mid-season,
Yeah.
and then we actually did really well to keep people healthy. Given the minutes that people were playing,
Mhm.
like I think Asia is 36, 37 minutes average through the season, then into the playoffs. And you've got Kelsey playing 40 minutes in a finals game. So I think it must speak to the organization as well about keeping everyone fit and healthy and on the floor. I mean, that's the most important part. But still
Um,
having someone like a Kayla George, like an Alicia Clark, who can come in and almost like, yeah, they're not Candice Parker, they're not Chelsea Gray, but they came in and done a magnificent job to fill in those gaps, and they really stepped up.
it's so many things that we notice across the board when you look at the aces. Remember Mark Davis said in his first season that he wanted to be the blueprint for how the league would expand. I think we can all agree that he has been. New York has followed a similar blueprint. I think Golden State's going to try to do the same thing. Boston's chomping at the bits to get in on it. But I think he's done everything he said to do is I'm going to spend the money where it needs to be spent. I'm going to pay people what they deserve to be paid. He built facilities that are top notch that we even had an entire show around to show like the way they rehab their players. They have the best trainers. They brought in the best GM. They have the best coaches. Becky is even implementing, if you look at it, and George is an example of it. She's putting in the Popovich system of developing people, and they come out, and you're like, where in the heck did she come from? And the thing that she does is they don't come in and go, I got to get my feet wet. I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what the rhythm. She came in and it was seamless, like she had been playing all along. And
That's the
that is something
scary.
coaches are going to start stealing from Becky. Like
Right.
at this point, they are best in class across the board in almost every dimension. And Mark put his money where his mouth was and said, "Hey, we're going to do what we have to do in order to bring championships here and to make sure we also start looking at how to make things equal on both sides." He got the media team that he brings in with Carolyn Peck and them that comes to every game and promotes it locally. There's so many things that other teams like look at what you're doing with you have podcasts now that are catered to all of the different teams. The league is growing and is growing rapidly faster than we thought. And although we want more expansion teams there, I think he's definitely shown the blueprint of how to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. And don't forget, everyone, we do have episodes out after the finals from Across the Pond Liberty
Yes.
and Across the Pond Aces. Both episodes are out. One is very happy, one is not as happy.
They should be encouraged. They should
But
be encouraged. They did amazing, and they have an opportunity to bring this back.
yeah, they do have the potential to bring it back, but so do the Aces.
Mhm.
And I think what you said about kind of the Popovich thing, like we've seen that. I've seen that in the NBA for years. Like, and obviously I'm a Jazz fan, so I watch Jazz games. But like, you watch the Jazz, they're up by 20. Somebody goes down for the Spurs in like the second quarter, somebody, and he brings someone on, and you're like, oh well, they're not going to be that great. Oh, hang on, they just scored 20 points. Like, where did that come from? Like, what the heck? So yeah, it is something that we've seen before, and Becky has obviously attuned to it. And, maybe this was her plan the whole year. I'm not going to play my bench because no one can then see them, no one can scout them, and I'm only going to play them if I really need to. And that's literally like that could have been the game plan all along. She is definitely like in with the mind games.
I hope that was not the game plan number one. But
Be fun if
I,
it was.
I do love that the confidence that she instills in every single player all the
Mhm.
way down that bench. I haven't seen anything like that on the women's side of the game.
Yeah,
I think it's phenomenal. I love it.
yeah. Right. Last word on the season, the finals. Uh, Parade is Monday, by the way. Locally, it is 5 p.m.
Mm,
in Vegas.
mm.
Everyone else can work out a time zone difference. I'm shot with numbers, but it is 5 p.m. in Vegas. Will you be watching, Michelle?
Imma be watching with my 8 shots.
With
Asia
your eight
said
shot.
8 shots. We are doing 8 shots, and next year I'm ready for 12. Let's go.
Well, when we do our next
Kids apple
show,
juice, I thought that was so funny when Asia said that. Kids
but-
apple juice.
well, when we do our 8 shots, we can do it on the next show. See how fun it gets after 8 shots. That'd
It
be
will get
hilarious.
fun.
It will definitely get fun. Awesome. Right. Well, thank you everyone for a wonderful season. We will be back. We are going to have some post-season stuff, and then we're going to have some off-season stuff going on across the pond. Liberty and Aces, as I said before, they've got episodes out, so do tune into those as well. We will be back. We're going to take a week off and relax and try and enjoy like not being up till 3 in the morning watching games. For me, anyway. And then we will be back in a couple of weeks. So look out for our next episode. And then, like last season, we did an episode every 2 weeks last in the off season last year, and we plan to do the same this year. So we will be around this season, and we have more tools this season available to us, so we can start to follow players that are abroad playing in Turkey because it's not Turkey anymore apparently, and wherever they are in Europe and in Australia, which is a big place. Lauren Jackson, by the way, playing again in Australia.
Ooh, she is balling too,
She's fully
and
fit
she's balling.
after her injury, so she's been good to go. But thank you so much again for joining us, and we loved this season, obviously because Stacey's won. But no, it was an awesome season all round. We as a company got to go to the WNBA Canada game. We got to go to the All Star game and cover these events live. Stacia even went to Dallas Wings Liberty game in
Mhm,
Dallas, which was awesome. So look out for us more next year. We hopefully will be in more places. And although we only have individual team channels this year, we hope to build on that and have more next year. Uh,
mhm.
so for myself and Michelle, have a great one. Enjoy the winter, but don't forget to check in on future episodes.